welcome to Issued for Construction. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobs, and today I've got with me a woman who I connected with toward the end of last year, looked at potentially coming here in January, and I say here because this is the last leg of my New York trip with the person that actually was the catalyst for it coming. Today I've got with me Elaine Molinar from Snøhetta. Elaine has been kind enough to be able to develop a relationship in some small capacity with me over the last couple of months, and ended up becoming the main reason for coming to New York. So now she sits across from me.
Hi, I don't believe that. That's great. I'm glad you're here.
Right? So first, obviously, thanks for saying yes to all this. I've been looking forward to having the chat with you for a while. For those of you listening and you are unaware with Snøhetta's work, I don't know what to say. You should probably go to the Instagram and take a look. Elaine, you will find out. Actually, let's just, instead of me telling you anything more, let's just go into it and you'll understand everything. So with that said, Elaine, tell me about where you were born. What was life like early on? What were your interests?
I was born in El Paso, Texas,
Yep.
Which is on the Mexican border. It's the border of Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico.
Okay.
It's a large binational borderplex, one of the largest. Mm-hmm.
And siblings?
I'm the youngest of three. We were
Okay.
three sisters.
Okay. And are you close? Were you close growing up?
We are.
Okay.
We are very close now. We're about each 2.5 or 3 years apart.
Okay. That's good. That's good spacing.
So I think we had a typical sibling relationship. We were all very different in terms of our interests. So as I was a pretty, a quiet kid, I wasn't a troublemaker like middle children often are.
Yep.
I wasn't extremely active and athletic, but I liked to do a lot of solitary things. I learned very, very early on when I was a little kid how to do things like sew and embroider and draw and make things.
And who was teaching you?
Well, my mother and I learned how to do all of that together.
Okay. And
I loved to read and be read to. And I would construct dollhouses in the bookshelves. And
okay.
I would just, do things like that.
Yeah.
I would describe myself as a bottomless pit of self-entertainment. I could really keep myself occupied very easily, even if it's just collecting stones or, counting bricks, anything. Mm-hmm. Anything I could, find a way to pass the time and keep myself interested.
Elaine just described herself as a bottomless pit of self-entertainment, someone who could turn a pile of stones or a stack of bricks into an afternoon. The same instinct for finding the right solution runs straight through her family. A little later in this conversation, she tells a story about her father building a small wooden tool by hand, shaped precisely to help her mother, who had rheumatoid arthritis, open and close an oven rack without pain. It wasn't a generic fix. It was made for exactly what she needed. That is the same instinct Rob and Janine bring to every conversation at Kaplan's Appliances. They're not pointing you toward whatever's on the floor. They're listening to how you actually cook, live, and build, guiding you to the appliance that's shaped just for that, for you. And the sale's never the finish line either. It's the start of a relationship built on service, on communication, and follow through, the kind that keeps generations of families and generations of firms coming back. Whether you're specifying a full kitchen on a ground-up build, sourcing appliances for a large-scale residential or commercial project, or renovating a single room like a kitchen, go talk to Rob or Janine and their team at Kaplan's. Janine is the point person for the community. Rob is a generational owner. One more thing worth sitting with from this episode. Elaine's account of the very first cut she ever made with a knife on the job, which sent her straight to the hospital. You'll hear it coming up. And if you're enjoying this conversation, a 5-star review helps more people find it. You can follow along on Instagram, keeping you in the loop about projects that are discussed right here. Everything else, including how to reach Kaplan's, is in the liner notes, or you can email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, @issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, let's get back to Elaine. And what did your parents do?
My mother stayed in the home. She ran our house.
Yep.
Household, and my father was a pharmacist. And my father also had a lot of hobbies. He was an avid photographer, so we were always in front of the camera in some way or another, whether either willingly or unwillingly.
I was going to say, is that one of those scenarios where he's like, all right, again,
I know. Yeah, there's a lot of those, a lot of frowny faces in photographs, but we're so grateful that we have them now because they're just gems.
Yeah.
And, you also get a new window into an era that no longer exists. So for us, that was the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun. And he was also a self-taught woodworker.
Oh, really?
And I would back that up a little bit. His father, my grandfather, worked in the steel yard at the railroad. And he made his own tools. He made pots and pans for my grandmother, things like that. So he's and he also owned a small apartment building and was the super and did all of the repairs and all of those things.
Himself?
Yes. And along with my father, who learned to do all of those things, plumbing and carpentry and, basic things like that.
Rough carpentry.
Yeah. And then when he was my father, in his adult life, he taught himself how to make furniture. And he started small. He started making small boxes and would learn how to use veneers and use different woods and different finishes. And we had all kinds of tools in the garage, bandsaw, power saws, sanders, things like that. And in addition to that, he was always able to fix anything that broke in the house or anything that needed an ingenious solution. He would, he'd come up with something.
So give me an example of something that you remember maybe breaking and falling apart?
Well, I have today, one of the things I saved from my parents' house was it's a piece of wood. It's about 1 foot long and it has an unusual shape on the end. It has curves in 2 directions. And he used it to help my mother, who had rheumatoid arthritis, so her hands were often difficult to use,
mm-hmm.
to pull out and push back in the rack of a small convection oven. So, instead of her, because he never had anything to do with making food, God forbid. Yeah. And anyway, so that helped her,
My dad was the same way. My dad would he'd put on a can of beans and be like, all right, guys, dinner. And he'd cut up like a boiled or barbecued hot dog into the beans. I'm like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Gourmet.
It is kind of like that. So he made just this simple little tool, and not only was it just utilitarian, it was also rather beautiful. So he just did things like that.
Yep.
All over the house. He would lay tile in the garden patio or build things. And I got to help. I got to watch. When I was very small, I was kind of afraid of the power tools because they're big and noisy.
Yeah.
And there was sawdust going everywhere. But as I grew up, I got more and more interested and was very observant. I was a very observant child. And I got a sense of how things are put together, how to solve problems, how to think about something in an unusual way. I think I got that from him.
And the creativity from both of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Talking about your mom wanting to learn how to do craft with you.
Yes, we learned how to do needlepoint, embroidery. We learned how to make clothes, and I always loved to draw. And I would find works of art to copy.
So, what were you? When you say draw, what were you using? Were you using pencils? Or were you using?
I was using pencil and pastels.
Okay. Pastels.
And, all kinds of things. Charcoal.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, pen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Working with charcoal. The leftover all over the place.
I know.
It's elbows. It's on your clothes. You didn't know. You forgot it was on your hand. You've somehow moved your hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as I got a little older, when I was 12, I wanted to dance ballet. So I began ballet lessons in earnest.
Okay.
I was very interested. I read every biography I could find of every famous dancer and read about the history of ballet and listened to all kinds of music. There was always a lot of music. We had a big record collection in the house, and I listened to all classical music that was used in ballets like Cinderella and Swan Lake and Peter and the Wolf and all of that.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know. I just love music. And 2 years after I started dancing, I got a Ford Foundation scholarship for summer program at the San Francisco Ballet School for that year and that summer and the following summer. So it was something I really enjoyed. And dance is a very spatial art.
Yep.
And it's a very creative one as well. And I had a lot of discipline as a kid, and ballet kind of reinforces that. You really need to have a discipline to succeed at that at any level. And so I did that for some years. And
were you traveling a lot for competition?
No, I wasn't doing that. No. And I at some level, as I got into high school, I knew I didn't want to pursue a professional career in dance because I wanted to do all kinds of things. And I didn't really have that singular focus that many performing artists have. And I wanted to go to college with my peers as well.
Right.
So,
did you grow up playing instruments as well?
No, I wish I had. We had a player piano when I was a kid, and my sisters and I used to play with that. It has those paper reels with the punched roll. And when we were really little, my oldest sister would sit on the bench, and the middle sister she'd be on the floor on her hands and knees working the foot pedals. So, that was fun, but I never learned to play the piano. I wish I had.
Is it too late now?
No, I don't think it's ever too late.
Okay.
If only there's the time, I think I have a good ear and a very good memory for music, but I haven't picked it. But I haven't put my mind to it.
Right. I have the vision of, as an adult, the scene in Big, just walking along a piano, and then next thing you know, there it is. Yeah,
and Bugs Bunny was a wonderful pianist. We grew up with that as well.
Cartoons are fantastic.
I know, they're great. They're so funny. El Paso is a very, I think, beautiful city. It's in the desert, and there's a mountain barreling right down the middle of town. And, that's kind of embedded in my mental landscape. It also has a lot of really beautiful historic architecture, some real gems that I really loved as a kid. I was just very attracted to, most of them are houses, but also like downtown office buildings and things like that. Just really lovely. And
did you draw them?
No,
Okay.
I didn't. But
experience them.
Yes, and a lot of driving by them, because it's a kind of a car town. But I didn't really think about architecture as a profession. I just knew I loved all those buildings, didn't really think about why or that it was a profession that I might pursue. But when I was in high school in the mid-'70s, there was a kind of a big push to get girls interested in engineering.
Really?
And one summer, I took a summer workshop at the University of Texas at El Paso. And it was about 6 weeks. It was most of the summer. And every week there was a focus on a different type of engineering, like mechanical engineering, electrical, structural. So I took that and I thought it was interesting. I kind of liked that. And I thought, well, okay, maybe that's something I could pursue. I was good at math. I was good at science. I was good at art. And so when I went off to college, I thought, well, okay, let's start there. And I went to Texas Christian University in Fort Worth and took my classes. And there were three things that happened. One was one of the classes I took was a history of interiors. It was historic. It's like the interior of Versailles or, whatever, places like that.
Yeah.
And the teacher was very interesting. And I thought, wow, this is great. Oh, these places were beautiful. I kind of wanted to travel after I saw that. And I took another class, which was about engineering drawing, because Texas Christian University doesn't have an engineering school.
Okay.
But they have a program connected with Washington University in St. Louis for you to do 2 years at TCU and then finish at WashU. So I took an engineering drawing class, which was all about projecting shapes, like making 3D projections out of a 2-dimensional drawing.
Okay.
And that was like very easy for me. But this class was taught by an architect.
Oh, interesting.
And he started to talk to me about architecture and what that meant and what that kind of degree was. And the third thing that is significant is that I used to spend a lot of my weekends with friends at the Kimbell Art Museum, which is designed by Kahn, which is one of the most famous architects and one of the most famous buildings in the world. Mm-hmm. That I didn't know who he was. I didn't know that that's what architects did. Yeah. I just spent a lot of time there, inside and outside, and thinking it was the most incredibly beautiful place. And when the teacher in my drawing class said, well, that's what architects do, then I started to connect the dots and thought, okay, I want to study architecture. And
had you created over time a portfolio of any kind?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
And TCU didn't have an architecture school either. Oh. So then I transferred to University of Texas at Austin because they had an architecture program and started there.
Oh, there's going to be a story that comes with this and how circular this is. I know this because I've been there. And
really?
You and I have spoken about this.
What? I don't remember. What were we talking about? The Kimbell or UT?
No, University of Austin.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you applied to the architecture school there, and did you need to provide a portfolio?
No.
Amazing.
Mm-mm. They take very few transfer students. I don't know how many at that time, but I got in.
And how many students are in the program in a given year?
Oh,
or at the time you
let's see. No, more than that.
Okay.
Between maybe around 300, maybe more.
So it's a significant size program.
Yeah. It's
compared to most that I've heard of.
Yes. And it's both undergraduate and graduate. And it's a 5-year professional degree program.
Okay.
And your 4th and 5th year design studios, the studios are mixed between graduates and undergraduates.
Okay.
There isn't a separate program. They're not separated.
Yeah.
Separated.
And what was it like? And I've asked many people this, but what was it like for you arriving into a program like that, having experienced something else, had all of these different types of interests that you knew you had kind of honed and developed, but then to arrive into a school that is, definitely more streamlined. How did it feel?
Well, it was great in a lot of ways. I mean, I also, because I had this great biology teacher in high school, and I got very interested in medical science and medicine, and thought that would be fun. And because I like to make things with my hands and work with my hands, I thought, something like surgery would just be right up my alley, which I think is why I enjoy my current hobby of doing taxidermy and small sculptures and related things. But anyway, I started the architecture program, and right away I found the work in the first year studios to kind of tap into all of the things that I felt I had an ability to do, like think 3-dimensionally, build things, draw. It was still kind of abstract. The exercises were still a little bit abstract in those first semesters before you start going into building design. But I felt like my aptitudes at least were put to use and given a good workout. So it was very satisfying.
And being around other students that were also like-minded.
Yeah.
Supportive, you're working together. Did you find that it was overly competitive, or did you find that it was more of actually like kind of a unified approach of the student body trying to come together and support each other? Or was it cutthroat? It
was not cutthroat. Okay. I would have called it somewhere in between. It certainly was not on my radar that there was any kind of competition or people not helping each other or being interested in what your classmates were doing. It was much more collaborative and a convivial environment. It was a really healthy environment. Very nice.
I will tell you that is a word that I don't know. What, convivial?
Convivial?
Yeah.
Yes.
What does that mean? I don't know the word.
Really?
Yeah, I've never heard it before.
Collaborative,
Okay.
friendly.
Yeah. I love yeah.
Happy.
Okay. I've got a new word to add to my vocabulary. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. And I took classes in the art department on the side because I had a great love of life drawing and I learned how to watercolor. I do like to learn things. So I was very happy. And because I had spent 2 years at TCU, I thought when I knew I was going to transfer, I just knocked out all of my general university requirements that I knew I'd have to fulfill at UT.
Yeah.
So all I really had left to focus on were my degree courses and whatever other elective I was interested in taking.
Smart.
So for me, that was art.
And in art class, was there a specific typology that they were teaching, or did you get to work across all different kinds?
I took art history and life drawing.
Okay.
Like a solid year or year and a half of life drawing, and then watercolor classes. They had a wonderful artist, Michael Frary, who's no longer living, but was a artist, watercolorist of note. He was teaching our class, and that was amazing. Watercolor is something that you have to keep doing because, there's a lot of technique involved and different techniques. And I haven't done that, but I think I would love to do it again.
My mom, Nellie, I am mentioning you if you end up listening to this, but my mom was like locally an award-winning watercolor artist. And she used to paint incredible work. Pictures of like my dad and fishing trips, and she'd paint these landscapes with like flowers growing out of them, and she did this incredible bird painting. Anyhow, wow. So to your point, I remember like her studio inside of our house and all the paint out, the easel, like the big easel. It was actually the art table, and it was informative for me. I used to draw and I used to do all those things, and it was just amazing being around that. The creative energy.
It can look very soft and very loose, but it is very precise regardless, because you have to plan how all of that is going to come out. And for as much planning as you might be able to do, there's always something unexpected. Yeah. So I really admire people who have a firm grasp of watercolor.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's all the layers to create a color in watercolor. Yeah. Earlier in this conversation, Elaine talked about spending her weekends at the Kimbell Art Museum in Fort Worth, a building by Louis Kahn that is famous for how it handles light, vaulted concrete ceilings with narrow slots that pull daylight in and let it wash down the gallery walls. She said she didn't know who Kahn was at the time. She just knew it was the most beautiful place she'd ever stood in. That is exactly the kind of precision Martin and Marta bring to every project at the doors. Not every window or door is doing the same job. A slim, low-profile frame on a single custom home is a completely different conversation than a curtain wall of glass on a ground-up commercial project. And getting that distinction right is what separates a space that feels considered from one that just has openings in it. Martin and Marta have spent 20 years managing that distinction for architects, builders, and homeowners on projects of every scale across North America, the Caribbean, and the Bahamas, with no upcharge for custom colors or revisions to the shop drawings. Everything you need to connect with Martin and Marta and the team at the doors is in the liner notes for this episode. And if this conversation is doing something for you, well, a 5-star review and a follow on Instagram both go a long way. If you want a personal touch to connect with anyone here, please feel free to email me. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, let's get back to Elaine. So what did it look like when you were in school and working alongside other students on projects? Did you have professors that were from within the field, or did you? Okay, they were practicing.
Most of the professors I had were practicing, although their practices probably were I don't want to say on the side because I don't really know, but they were
secondary,
but they were first and foremost very dedicated educators.
Right.
And they were very, very good at that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And were the practices that they had, were they small residential, or were they? Mostly
the professors I had a small residential practice on the side. There were very few professors who were women. I can only recall 2 in my day.
And that's out of 5 years worth of school.
Yeah, but or 3 maybe.
Okay.
But I never had any of them. One of them, Natalie DeBlois, I admired very much, but I shied away from taking her studio. She focused on tall buildings, and she had spent her career at SOM working with Gordon Bunshaft in the 40s and 50s. And she was a trailblazer. She was responsible for the Pepsi-Cola building here in New York and worked on the Lieber House, and very much did not get the credit she deserved. But I didn't take her. I regret not taking her class, but I didn't. I was not drawn to tall buildings in that way.
Just
so
fair.
I didn't. And I didn't really see the bigger picture when making those choices.
It's hard. I mean, you could be a mid-profession professional and not know exactly that you're making the right or the wrong choices until afterwards.
Yeah. It's hindsight is really the only teacher.
Yeah. Well, that's the definition of experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and as a part of the programming, did you have co-op at all or not? Or
you mean
internships?
Working? Yes, I did an internship program. It's called a professional residency program.
Okay.
And you got to spend a semester and a summer out working.
Okay.
And I did that in California, in Los Angeles, for an architect named Barton Myers.
Yep.
I lived in Hollywood, and I walked to work every day, which is unusual in Los Angeles. Didn't have a car. And
I've spoken to so many people that have worked for Barton Myers.
Yeah. Well, my partner and husband, Craig, who's out there somewhere, he also worked for Barton Myers back in the day.
And everyone said that it was just such an electric office. The work that they were doing was amazing.
That's right, because they had a Canadian office as well. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I got some interesting experience there. I wanted to go to Los Angeles because I wanted to experience the history, the architectural legacy, the history that Los Angeles has. A lot of case study houses, buildings by Frank Lloyd Wright. Mm-hmm. And, it has the Hollywood Hills. It's got this iconic landscape as well.
Right. The challenge of the engineering associated with putting houses in hills.
That too. But location was what drove my decision. And Barton Myers was also an office that participated in the program.
Okay.
So there was a good connection from the school. And, to this day in our studio here, we have students from that program. We have an intern now, and we've had probably a dozen interns from the PRP program at UT over the years. And many of those have gone on to have regular employment in our studio. So it's a very good program.
Okay. And what were you working on when you were there?
I did a few little things, whatever they're asking an intern to do. I helped work on some proposals, and this is before the age of computers.
Yes.
So that was with, the light blue pencil, the non-print blue pencils, and laying out letters on pages and all of that. And I worked a little bit on a theater in Cerritos, which was in design and construction documents at that time. Made some models. And then I was paired with a woman who was a planner, and she was doing some planning studies at UCLA. And I spent most of my time working with her on that.
Got it. And were you drawing it all on Mylar?
Ink on Mylar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this because, you're listening to this. This gets referenced in different episodes, but worth noting is if you are currently new to this profession, you have to know that what you are working with is much easier than what you had to work with previously.
Sure. Definitely.
There's a reason they're called blueprints.
And I remember the ink on Mylar, if you needed to erase, the eraser was this really pungent, vile smelling yellow plasticky thing, which I was allergic to. So it kept my eyes and it was kind of horrible. So, you try to avoid mistakes.
Try to avoid mistakes. Yeah. How did you get the opportunity at Barton Myers? Did you just apply and then had an interview, or?
Yeah. The way the PRP program works, or it still works today, is that the school will send your portfolio to an office and they'll say yes or no.
And you get to choose the office?
Yeah. It's kind of a dialogue.
Yeah.
And I could have chosen anywhere. Some students went abroad. Some went to usually a big city somewhere. And that's it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you finish school, you feel you've gained the knowledge that you wanted to gain in whatever capacity you could. And how do you determine where you want to go from there?
After school?
Yeah, after school.
Well, so I did that residency program and then I went back to UT for my final semester.
Okay.
And then I knew I wanted to go back to Los Angeles.
Okay.
This was in the late 80s and the economy was, smelling funny. But there was still a lot going on in Los Angeles. There were a lot of architects in LA and most of them were busy doing something. So I went back. I didn't want to go back to Barton Myers. They did ask if I wanted to go back. I didn't, because I wanted to experience just a different kind of office, a different size, different kinds of projects.
How many people were at Barton Myers when you were there?
Probably about 30.
Okay.
30 maybe.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go try a smaller office. But I did some short-term work at one studio. And the very first day, I had a task of building a model. The very first cut with my knife, I sliced right through my finger, and they had to take me to the hospital.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you sever any of the?
No, but you can still see what it did to my finger here.
Yeah. No, sorry. If you're listening, that's not entirely true. You can't see it. I can.
I could feel it still.
Yeah. As an aside to this, within the same context, when I was renovating my house a couple of years ago, and I was using a power screwdriver, and I put a screw through a piece of wood that I was holding, and the screw went into my finger.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I still have a spot on my finger that I can recall every time I touch it. I remember that experience.
Memories.
Right? It was just lovely. Okay. So, so off to the hospital, get some stitches.
So I finished that gig, and then I was still interviewing around for offices, and then I found an office that I wanted to work in.
Okay.
It was a smaller one. It was called DeBretteville and Polizoides, which no longer exists in that format today. They were practicing separately.
Okay.
And they did smaller scale work, like small apartment complexes, smaller office buildings, things like that.
Okay.
And competitions as well, design competitions.
So what do you feel were some of the core elements that you're able to take away from being there and having that experience? I
think I discovered I wanted to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, it was a very interesting place to work. I did enjoy it, but it was a little quiet.
Okay.
And I wanted to, and they, at the same time, their practice was starting to diverge.
Okay.
And one went very much more into planning and new urbanism, contextualism, and the other partner went off to teach at Yale. So it was time for change. And then at around about that time, some of my friends were forming a team to work on a competition for a library in Alexandria. And I was asked if I wanted to be part of that. And I said, well, yeah, sure, I'll help. And I didn't spend all of my time doing that. I spent maybe, part of my time helping out on that. And I had never done anything like that before. I didn't know everyone on the team. Maybe I felt a little bit intimidated. I was just fresh out of school and no one else was. They had been working for at least a little while. And I did whatever I could to be helpful. And again, Elaine Molinar models,
Yep.
a lot of learning to understand a program like a competition brief that I hadn't really had that experience in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding, what you have to do to meet the deliverable requirements. And this was all by hand again. And we all spent about a month intensely working on that in Los Angeles. We rolled it up, put it in the mail.
I was going to ask you, did you email your documentation?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And
it's oversized mail too.
Yeah, I think the team member whose job it was to get it posted at the post office got there at the 99th hour and the clock was about to run out. He's waiting in line, getting impatient. So he just reached through the window and got the date stamp and stamped it himself.
Really?
Yeah.
Just to make sure it was off in time.
Yeah. And then it got sent off.
Okay.
And then, everybody all went about our business. And then that was maybe in May, June.
Yep.
And by October, the results were in and we got a phone call that our entry had won first prize. And this was a big competition. It was international. It was open, anonymous, unpaid, obviously.
Anonymous.
But it was open to students and professionals. It was just completely open.
Crazy.
Yeah. And it was pretty significant to recreate the idea, at least, of the Great Alexandria Library in Egypt. So it was spectacular. And I don't know. I didn't really grasp what had happened. I have to say.
The magnitude of it.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No.
How can I ask?
How old was I? I was 26.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How could you?
I would say, fortunately, I didn't. Yeah. And as a team, because we weren't an office, we weren't a studio, we weren't a company that had a plan to do A, B, and C and, set ourselves up.
Yeah.
We were just a group of people that came together to do this. And I think there had been a loose plan to reconvene and pursue the project, which we did. And that's what happened. And that required reestablishing ourselves in Norway because half of our team were people from Norway. And they had a studio in Norway, and we just, I just packed my bags and left.
They had already had their own studio, or they were?
Yeah, they were a group of people who had a studio in called Snøhetta, which they had registered the competition for.
Okay.
And then my friends in Los Angeles, one of them had a common friend, knew the person in Norway, and we just kind of all came together.
So how many of you were on the team?
Oh gosh, 7 or 8.
Okay.
And then plus a few other people who kind of contributed here and there.
Okay.
And
so you just packed up and moved?
Yeah, I just packed up and left my country. I thought, well, okay, that's what happens. It's okay. It'll be a year, maybe 2. I don't know. I had no idea, no concept. I didn't think it through really. And I guess I didn't see any need to. And that was fine. That worked out well.
I would say.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about things too much, then you can miss opportunities.
Right. So what was it like, packing up, moving, and then going and actually developing now the plans and the strategy and the rollout of this production and design?
Yeah.
In your mid-20s.
It was like a roller coaster. I mean, we won that competition in 1989 and spent the next 4-ish years pursuing a negotiated contract to start the work. And in the interim, we did a feasibility study that we were tasked to do by the competition organizers who were originally UNESCO. And the Norwegian government provided some funds for us to carry out that study. We hired engineers and other professionals to help us do that phase of work. I think to help the client understand that it was a serious proposal because we were probably one of the youngest teams, if not the youngest team, to win a prize and to win the prize.
And how did you, as a young team, establish what a fee should look like for something like this?
Well, again, we hired people who knew.
Okay.
We hired a design management consultant who was based in London. And they also did quantity surveying. And one of their first projects was Norman Foster's Hong Kong Bank.
Okay.
And they helped us do all of that. They helped us, structure and organize and form the design team with all the consultants and manage the process.
And understand time and how to and how to value the time that would be required for something like this.
Sure, and how to structure deliverables. Because while other people on the team had more experience than I had, none of us had that kind of experience with a project like that.
Right.
So it's very much learning as you go.
And thus the birth of
our company, Snøhetta. I would say we didn't start our company. Our company started us.
Well, I mean, you took it upon yourselves to apply for a competition,
Right. We did. But then in the meantime, in that 4-year period, we had to, find work to do. So we did eventually. We did other smaller projects.
And how did you come across them? Was it through word of mouth and people that some of the people had known, or was it stuff that you were searching out? Much
of that was by competition.
Okay.
So we built an art museum, a small art museum in Lillehammer for the 1994 Olympics. That was a competition, as I remember. And probably the last project that we drew by hand.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. I have distinct memory. I mean, there's a difference in our age, but I have a distinct memory of Lillehammer becoming the first real Olympic games that I could take note of.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is going to sound so silly, but I remember the integration with McDonald's and how McDonald's was promoting the Lillehammer games. Huh. I don't know why or how that marketing somehow sticks out in my mind.
I don't know. I don't remember that. But I started, getting to know the Norwegian Winter Olympics team because, they excel at winter sports.
Right.
And that was fun.
And what was the catalyst for the name?
Snøhetta?
Yeah.
It's the name of a mountain in Norway, in central Norway, in the area called Dovre.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful mountain. It's not the tallest. But I think of it as it's a place. And I think our work is very much rooted in place and creating a sense of place and understanding the places in which we build, their identity, their history, their value.
I ask the question because it's rare that a new practice does not create its name based on the last names of those that are involved, especially then.
Yeah, that was very uncommon at the time. There are also other reasons. One is we've always had both architects and landscape architects in our practice. And,
okay.
The ground that we stand on has been here longer than anything else. It actually doesn't need architecture, but architecture absolutely needs landscape. It needs to stand somewhere on something. Mm-hmm. So that's very important. But also our first studio is in the attic floor of a small office building in Norway, in Oslo. And on the second floor, the ground and second floor of that building, there's a bar called Dovrehallen.
Sorry, called what?
Dovrehallen.
Okay.
Which is named after the area Dovre in Norway. And Snøhetta is, I think, the highest peak in Dovre. So our studio, the roof, that attic floor was the highest thing over the bar called Dovre.
I love it.
Yep. So today in our studio here, that big space under the big skylight, we've called that meeting room Olympia because part of this neighborhood, Dumbo, was called Olympia. And one of our favorite little bars down the block is called Olympia. So again, we've named at least part of our studio after a bar.
In her mid-20s, Elaine packed her bags and moved to Norway with barely a plan, just a team, a competition win, and a sense that it would work itself out. And it did. And it turned into a career that has taken her to Cairo for a year, to India for an award ceremony, and eventually back to the Atlantic to build a studio in New York. Snøhetta, New York. A career built across time zones like that runs on being able to work well no matter where you land, which is exactly what an Amex card is built for. It's the reason why I got one when I started my businesses, because as a card holder, you get access to the Global Lounge collection. Now more than 1,550 airport lounges across 140 countries is what you have access to. So instead of working on a laptop off your knees at the gate, you've got a quiet space with real food and a decent coffee before an early flight without someone peering over at your screen. Add in the points that stack towards flights, hotels, upgrades, and it becomes less about a single trip and more about how you travel for the rest of your career. If you think you might be leaving value on the table and have not looked into what an Amex card can do for you and how you work and travel, reach out to me and I will connect you directly with their team. In regards to the episode, there's one more thing worth sitting with coming up. It's Elaine's description of standing under the Blanton Museum in Austin and feeling the temperature drop by a couple degrees under the shade of the canopy. Oh, and if you're enjoying this show, a 5-star review and a follow on Instagram help more people find this conversation. And you'll find everything else you need to connect with those that are a partner to the show in the liner notes. Or you can email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, @issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, back to Elaine. Yeah, well, good for you can get some inspiration there.
Yeah.
So how did you manage as a young practice the evolution of acquiring more projects while also focusing when you could on the design for Alexandria?
We were seeking out competitions. We did a lot of competitions.
How many proposals would you have been writing in a year, do you think?
Well, they're design competitions.
Right.
So
I guess fair. I guess I'm using the wrong term.
Yeah. So when I think of a proposal in this context here, it's very different from a design competition, of which there are many more in Europe. That certainly at that time, it was a much more common way of getting work than being shortlisted for an interview. I can't ever remember that happening, actually.
Fair enough. So for competitions, how many do you think you'd be entering into in a year back then?
Oh, I don't remember, but a lot.
A lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a few. And you lose a lot of them. We still do. You usually lose more than you win.
Yeah. Facing rejection is, I think, one of the most important parts of the humility of any craft.
Yeah, right.
You're going to lose. The question is, what's your win ratio?
Right. And, you always learn something along the way. And there were just a lot of really lean times where maybe we didn't have a paycheck.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you did not get a paycheck?
Yeah, no.
You're saying that there could have been hard times?
There might have been hard times, yeah.
Again, if you're listening and you're wondering, were times hard before? Yeah, they were hard before. It was not easy when you didn't have email and you didn't have the immediacy of information like the internet. When you need to go and actually research something, you had to go to a local library and go and search it out, or go to the university and access records. Yeah. It's a completely different time.
It was an interesting way for me to spend the early years in my career because first I had to learn a new language and understand a new culture, but not only learn a new language in a conversational sense, but also a professional vocabulary as well. So that took a little bit of time. And then by the time I came back to the United States, 16 years later, there were a lot of technical words in architecture that I didn't know the English word for. I had to relearn that again.
And what led you back to the U.S.?
The work at the World Trade Center, which was impossible to do from anywhere else but New York City.
Okay. And
it was also an opportunity to expand our practice outside of Norway. So the studio in New York is only our second studio that we've created. So out of horrible events and tragedy, we had an opportunity to expand our practice.
Right.
So I always think of that with, gratitude, and, it's a serious thing.
Yeah. As an American, to be able to leave Norway and come back and now create the foundation of a new experience from something as impactful.
Right.
So I have like multiple questions I want to ask right now. You return here. You're the first person to come back?
Craig, my partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the two of you.
Right.
So you leave there. The two of you come back here. You're not from New York.
No.
So how do you determine where the right place to set up office is? How did you do any of that?
Well, it wasn't as random as it sounds. Well, first of all, there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
The process of getting the job and then being here and then, and then finally relocating and setting up a studio here. We set up our first studio in Lower Manhattan because it was physically close to the World Trade Center site and the offices of the client.
Okay.
That seemed to make sense. And also at that time, because of 9/11, a lot of businesses had vacated Lower Manhattan. At the same time, the internet was taking off and Wall Street didn't necessarily need to be physically Wall Street. So everybody working on Wall Street could work from different places. So, it was a little bit empty and there were incentives to repopulate Lower Manhattan. There were tax incentives and, other efforts. Some of the office buildings did their conversion to residential early on. Mm-hmm. So there was just an effort to rebuild that part of Manhattan. And it made sense for us to be down there. So first it was an apartment. Then, it was another little space. And then we found our studio at 25 Broadway temporarily at first. And then we were able to move in and put our studio there.
And how many people were you at the time that you moved into that?
Oh, I don't know. Probably 7-ish, something like that.
It's great. It's crazy, right? When you analyze this and start looking back at it.
Yeah.
And as you're looking at more projects at that point, what did that look like? How are you finding them?
Well, we quickly understood that the World Trade Center project that we had was not going to be a linear progression over a short period of time. We understood there were going to be starts and stops, and that in the meantime, if we were going to stick with that, we also had to find other work to do.
Right.
So the very first project we found was a performing arts center at Bowling Green State University. And that was actually completed before the World Trade Center project. No surprise. Yep. So that kept us busy. And then we started pursuing other projects. Here, people like the engineers on our team for World Trade Center would alert us to opportunities that were happening. Like, hey, did you hear about this? Or did you hear about that project?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that says something about the relationship with them and what they felt you were able to bring.
Yeah. And they had actually reached out to us in Oslo to pursue the World Trade Center project in the first place. That's Bureau Happold. And we didn't immediately think it was the right fit or that we would, why would we do that? It happened in New York. We're not there. But they said there were plans for a cultural institution on the grounds. So then we decided to submit our proposal, our qualifications. And then we were shortlisted. And then they came to see us in Norway and visit some of our built work. And then they went back and did their deliberations. There was an interview, and then we were selected for that.
And do you think that there was any specific project they saw that they were, or did they reference any specific project they saw that said, we knew at this point you were capable?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't recall. I don't remember. I do remember going around to them with our committee, visiting some of our projects. And one of the people on the committee, we were in one of our projects, a small theater outside of Oslo. And there was a small step on the floor, which probably shouldn't have been there. And she fell and broke her shoulder.
No way.
Yeah. And then we were just thought, oh, wow, we really blew it.
No, that's not true. She did.
No, right. But of course, being Scandinavia, they have great healthcare and medical care, and she was treated very, very well, and it didn't make a difference.
Okay. And what did some of the projects look like as you started to grow the office, having moved now to 25th, and you've now become somewhat rooted in the culture of Manhattan, and now into the United States again. Like it's interesting. Like you leave and come back, and by coming back, you now create this entity that took you leaving to come back and form.
Sure. I mean, if you spend all of your life in one place, you stop seeing things. You don't have a fresh point of view. I think living outside of my home country as a young adult helped expand and form my worldview in a way that it was altogether different than it would have been otherwise.
Did you get a chance to travel throughout the course of the Alexandria project?
Yes.
Often to go see that?
Yes. We lived in Cairo for 1 year.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I was not one of the people who worked on the project during construction, so I didn't do any of that kind of travel. But I saw a lot of other parts of the world, traveled a lot in Europe and to India and, other places.
So it's a question that I don't always ask, but I just feel compelled to ask this question because part of what's going to happen later in the day today is we're going to go for dinner with a few others. So in your travels, what have been some of the more unusual meals that you've had in countries where you were like, I don't know if I want to go with this or not? Can you recall anything? Like, on the side of the road or something where you're at a food stand or?
Sure. I relay a couple of things, very different. When we were living in Cairo, we were eating lunch somewhere, and one of the sandwiches on offer was a spinal cord sandwich. And
spinal cord?
Yes.
What?
No, I'm not going to have that. No, thank you.
Yeah. And shit.
I'm sure it's, very, very good in certain ways for certain people, but that wasn't for me. I knew that.
No thanks.
No, but in the soon after we came to New York, we went to India because the Alexandria Library had won the Aga Khan Prize, and for that year it was being awarded in India in Agra. So we went to New Delhi, we went to Agra, and when we were in Agra, there was a banquet in the evening outside, and there were multiple stations for food, and they were it was food from all regions of India. So you got to sample different dishes from different parts of the country. And that was spectacular. That was amazing. And I really loved the food from Kashmir. It was kind of just dark and earthy and just delicious. All of it was delicious, but I was very special.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
What an experience. And how many people were at this event?
Hundreds. A lot of people. It was a big crowd.
Okay.
So it was all of the prize winners for the Aga Khan award that year, and all the delegation, and it was a lot of people. It was big. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So so now bring it back to New York. How many years were you running the practice out of 25th?
At 25 Broadway, we were there, I guess, almost 10 years.
Okay.
And then we were at 80 Pine for another 10 and change.
And how many people were at the practice
it grew steadily. So we started with just a handful of people. Yeah. And it grew steadily as we got more projects. And most of the work we got in our first years in New York were on universities, like the Hunt Library at NC State campus, the Student Center at Metropolitan University, which maybe you've seen, maybe you've been there, sure. And at Queen's University Performance Hall there. So we started to do a lot of that. And so we started to grow our team and grew steadily, up to 40, 50, or maybe up to close to 50 at 25 Broadway before we moved. We were kind of busting out there. And then we moved to 80 Pine, which is a 1961 Emory Roth office building. And it was a big improvement. and it was a little bit bigger than we needed at the time. Wall to wall windows, but still it felt dark, because you're in lower Manhattan, you're surrounded by tall buildings, so you don't get a lot of sun in.
Right.
And it was great. It served us very well for most of that time until, I don't know, early on, I kind of started to feel like we were squatting in an office building. We didn't really belong there, but still it was very functional. It was useful. And then the building got sold. As our lease was coming to an end, the building got sold and is now being converted to residential.
Okay.
So all signs pointed to get out of there. Time to move, time for change. And then we found this place. We, together with our real estate agent, we were looking around. Brooklyn became viable again because prices, I think, had leveled out a little bit. They were a little bit less than they had been years back. And there was space available. So we looked in the Navy Yard. We looked in downtown Brooklyn. We also looked in Manhattan, but the prices were way high.
Right.
And then we walked into this place and, we were trying very, very hard to, conceal our enthusiasm, because you want to have a bit of a poker face. But anyway, we walked in here and it was completely gutted, but we knew it was absolutely perfect for us and that we could easily make it feel like home. And I think we've done that. So you haven't had a tour around yet. I'll give you a proper look around.
And I missed the opportunity to be able to have an enjoyable party here last night.
I'm sorry.
Launch.
Yeah.
It's okay. It was like my own doing. I had another dinner last night.
Yeah.
Such is life. So we'll tour afterwards. And so tell me now, you've been at the practice involved and it's almost 40 years old, which is incredible that a practice has been able to continue to find such compelling work all over. And it's not localized. Like you've opened many more offices. So when you're looking at entering into a new market, how are you determining whether or not this is the right market? Or are you doing a lot of market research? Or are you looking at it from the standpoint of, if we've won one or two projects in this region, now it makes sense to be able to go to that market?
I think there's a little bit of all of that. Okay. We set up our practice in North America because it was a market that we were interested in, but it was hard to do from afar. And since Craig and I are both American, it made sense that we were the ones here. And our studio here focuses largely on the Americas. And I think all of our studios around the world have a regional focus, just because it's efficient. You're close to where the work is. You're working in the same time zone or in the same currency as many of your clients. Right. There are occasions where some of our studios collaborate with each other when it makes sense. More and more clients have a global reach these days, so they're not only working where they might be based. Right. So then those are fun opportunities to collaborate. Sometimes, Asia, I think, is obviously there's activity going on in Asia that I think that made sense. You don't need to do a lot of research to figure that one out.
There's value there.
Right. And our New York office is the second studio we established. It's also the second largest. But one of the other early studios was set up in Innsbruck in Austria. And that was set up by that time was a former employee, an employee who had worked for some years in Oslo and at some point needed to return home to Austria. Okay. And so he left the company initially, but, started to drum things up. And when there was some momentum built up, we set up a studio there, which is thriving today. Okay. So there are a number of reasons how things get started.
And so you started off in the late 80s, you're 7 to 10, 11, somewhere around there, 7 to 12 people, something like that. Yeah. Between the core group and some other people that are helping out. And you are now across how many offices and how many people?
I think we have 7 offices and we're approximately 250 people.
I just wanted you to say it, and I was going to give you a second to hear it. I know that you hear it all the time, and I'm sure you're very well aware. But what I love are stories like this where it's an incredible series of growth based on a group of people that saw the same vision in the beginning and have made a pact that it's going to work, and we'll figure it out. And the figuring works. And you end up having a global reach, impacting people in the same way that you got to experience a library when you were a kid.
Right.
So when you look at the overall operation here, who were some of the first, and I'm not looking for names, it's more so roles. Who were some of the first people that you needed to bring in to help justify the need for staff? My question's a little vague, so let me rephrase it. When you were looking at, did you need people to help out on operations? Did you need drafts people? Did you need an intern architect? Like how did you source those bodies early on?
Well, I wouldn't say we had a plan like that.
I figured as much. Very few do.
I mean,
win the work and go figure it out.
Yeah, we had a very complex project, the World Trade Center Pavilion.
Yeah.
We needed a team. People knew we were here, so people were knocking at the door. Really, we didn't have to do a lot of specific outreach to hire people.
Okay.
And we needed a design team. We needed designers. We needed people with a variety of skills. It just kind of grew organically.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
And some of those people are still with us today.
So you have staff currently in the office that have been with since the beginning of opening the office?
Just a few. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay. And so where do you see, and how do you see the continued growth of the practice? Is there a desire for continued growth, or is it more so an interest in wanting to find the right projects and keep the team as what it currently how it currently is?
That's a hard question to answer. I think, the last, I want to say almost decade, it's been pretty rough in the world with strange things happening, untenable situations, a lack of predictability in market and economy. It's just kind of, all over the map, a little volatile. So it is really difficult. University clients and universities in general are facing enormous challenges today. There are some developers who've been very skittish, and others who are just full steam ahead. It's hard. It's hard to predict. It's hard to really see a pattern. But we always look for projects where we feel a sense of, I guess, mission alignment between what we do and what the vision that the client has that we can build on and help make stronger. And those come from all sources and all sorts of places. And we look for the inherent value that already exists in a place with the people, whatever the situation is for the project. And we look to build on that. So therefore, that's one reason why a lot of people say we don't have a style, I guess, nor do we have any kind of preconceived ideas about form that we just put to every project. We don't work that way either. So it is very organic. It continues to be very organic. Size goes up and down over time.
As it would.
Yep.
And how do you source it when you're working in places where you aren't the local architect? How are you sourcing who you want to work with locally?
That happens in different ways as well. We've had a wide variety of relationships with our local architects of record. Sometimes we seek them out. So in certain cases, we will talk with 3 or 4 and then make a decision. Sometimes they come with the client and there is no choice involved. And then the client wants us to work together, and we do.
Right. So when you're winning projects in locales where you need an architect of record, how does it work with fees?
Well, generally, the fee in total for the architect and for the design team in total is a factor of percentage of construction.
Okay.
Just as a rule of thumb.
Yep.
There's a certain percentage. So that's what a client is going to recognize. How we split it up is up to us.
Okay.
So if we're working with an architect of record, we look at the type of project, the type of experience we each have, the relationship.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've had a straight down the middle 50-50 split in our scope and in our fees. And sometimes it swings one way or the other, depending on how and when we are involved versus the local architect.
Got it. Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Okay. And are these are situations where, and I'm only asking this because I don't know it. And I'm curious because if, there's a young practice out there that's eventually growing, they can understand this better. You have multiple partners, so you have to all come together and determine how are we going to approach this? Or do individual studios have their own autonomy?
What do you mean? And approach what?
Does New York, do you get to make the distinction on proposals for Americas, or do you do it combined as a group?
Oh, no, absolutely. Our studios are autonomous. They have, because we're in local markets, basically all of our studios.
Okay.
So we need to adhere to local conditions. And our New York practice is its own legal entity anyway, as required by the state of New York.
Right.
So.
Okay. So understanding how you approach it and understanding that you are, your own entity and scales of other projects that you're working on. Tell me what do those look like right now?
Well, right now we're working on a science museum in Toronto, which I think you've maybe heard a little bit about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
With a local architect.
I know.
By the way. Last year in late 2024, we completed a STEAM Discovery Center in El Paso, Texas, my hometown.
That's pretty cool.
That was also a design competition, or it was an invited long list for a short list for a design competition.
And how did it so I assume you had to go there when it opened.
Absolutely.
And how did it feel?
Amazing. It was wonderful. It's been a huge success. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Family. It was a huge success. It's won all kinds of awards. They really have their act together in terms of programming and outreach. It's just great. And they were so lovely to work with. And I think our design team just had a really great time because it's fun. I mean, it's for kids. It's fun. It's kids of all ages. Say that. But it was just so much fun. A joyful project. Well,
and I alluded to it earlier, and that was in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
I had the fortune of going there in May of 2025 and getting to experience what you have installed.
Right. The garden and the shade petals at the Blanton Art Museum. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I walked in today through your office and saw the model out there.
Oh, right.
I was like, that's where it all started. So for those unaware, I sadly haven't been able to travel as much as I'd like to in my life, but that's starting to happen more. And I had the fortune again of going there and seeing this and experiencing it. And I can tell you that the day that I was at that university, it was so hot. It was so hot. It was in May, but it was so hot. It wasn't even middle of summer yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking so forward, getting through the next 200 steps from where we parked to finding that shade.
Yeah. Did you find it? Did you feel it?
Oh, I mean, the temperature dropped by, it had to have been 10 to 12. I mean, I'm going to say degrees, Celsius.
Yeah. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're standing under them, you're within, I don't know. I went from sweating to actually cooling off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really, really special place in a courtyard between buildings.
Right. It's unusual because it's a museum that's bifurcated into two buildings, which had over the years caused a great deal of confusion. No one knew where the galleries were, where the front door, which building do you go into who?
Right.
And they kind of look like classroom buildings. Maybe what you don't know is that in the mid 90s, while we were still only in Oslo, we were shortlisted for the Blanton Art Museum.
I didn't know this. Okay.
Yeah, I think we even interviewed for it. We didn't win. Herzog and de Meuron won that, which we're thrilled about because they're great architects.
Yeah.
But their scheme ultimately did not get built either.
Huh.
And then, another architect came and built those two buildings that you see now.
And this, excuse me for not knowing this, but there's also the structure in the center.
The Kelly Pavilion. That is Ellsworth Kelly's last work of art. Yes. That was acquired by the Blantons shortly before his death.
Man, like while walking in there.
Yeah.
And that stained glass.
Mm-hmm.
Standing in the center of it.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. I remember I remember being awestruck and feeling the need to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Just I didn't want to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's magical.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. And the mural that's in the arcade, the green and white one, is Carmen Herrera's last work of art before her death. And I think one of her first works of that scale or outdoors. I can't remember. You don't have to include that. But so it was wonderful to be able to work in that context.
I was just going to say, so, to be able to have a project that kind of aligns all of this as you walk up to the university from the street is a pretty special thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, what I like is how circular things are. And when you pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. And so what are there any other projects right now that are of great interest that you'd like to talk about? Or that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, there's quite a lot that we aren't allowed to talk about.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's leave that where it lies.
Yeah.
So tell me about yourself outside of practice and what are some of the things that you like to do? Pursuits, family.
Yeah. Well, I do like to travel.
Okay.
And now that my sisters and I no longer have our parents with us, we've started to use the opportunity to travel together and to go to places and, spend some time. So last month we all met in northern Arizona and drove around that beautiful landscape and had a great time. That was wonderful. So we will continue to do that.
Big smile on your face.
Yeah, it was great.
This trip.
It was great. We're already planning our next one. We're going to, I think, Savannah and Charleston next year.
Okay.
Yep. So that's fun. And then I have a very small studio at home and I make small things. That's the way I describe it. I like to make small things. I wouldn't call it sculpture or collage. It's assembly. Maybe I use a lot of found objects and a lot of natural materials. So I use eggshells and antlers and horn and bone and hair and all kinds of things. And this kind of evolved out of me wanting to learn taxidermy. And in New York City, you can find everybody doing all kinds of things. If there's something you can think of, you can be sure someone in New York City is doing it. So I found a class to take to learn how to do taxidermy. It was just the very small animals, mice and birds and rabbits and things like that. All ethically sourced animals.
Yeah.
And I became really fascinated by doing that. It's the ultimate three-dimensional landscape, I would say, and completely unpredictable. And it's has interesting form and texture, and it's just fascinating. So I started to do that, and that I started to incorporate other materials, and I spent a lot of time shaping eggshells and doing all kinds of things. And I do that whenever I get the chance.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you're saying Craig's here?
Yep, he is. I'll introduce you.
And kids?
No kids.
Okay.
No. Just my website. It's called Furiosities.
There you go. And an Instagram account.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So should I put that in the liner notes?
Sure, you can do that.
Yeah.
You won't find anything architectural on my Instagram account. It's just the things I make. And I follow other people who make things as well.
All right.
So that's been great.
So if you're interested in wanting to find out more, you can head over to Liner Notes. There's information there. You'll have the website. I'll have an Instagram account. And I would also ask, if possible, a shameless plug. That is that if you're listening, please find a way to give the podcast 5 stars. It's just going to help with a little bit of exposure in this in the world of podcast. So, Elaine, I've got to tell you, I so greatly appreciate you taking the time to do this with me today. In advance of this, the chats that we've had, the willingness and openness to just have a candid conversation about your career and the life of this company. I'm grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very proud of our company, and there's so many people who are so talented and do a lot of heavy lifting to make it succeed and live on. So I'm just very, very happy about that.
Wow. It's been a pleasure.
They deserve a lot of credit.
Look, it's the people that allow the company to be successful, which is again what we alluded to at the beginning, right?
Oh.
That there's a name associated with a company, but it's the people behind it that make the name valuable.
That's true. Well, thank you.